Marcedes Myran and Morgan Harris are coming home.
Tonight, the second set of remains recovered in a Winnipeg landfill are those of Marcedes Myran.
I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I've always been into the Irish dancing, the red hair.
And a Mohawk woman finds the space to celebrate being Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Good evening, I'm Cree. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin tonight in Manitoba, where a second set of human remains found in late February at a Winnipeg area landfill have been officially identified as belonging to 26-year-old Marcedes Myran. Myran was one of two First Nations women whose bodies were believed to have been disposed of in the Prairie Green landfill in spring of 2022. She and Morgan Harris, whose remains were found and identified earlier this month, were the victims of a convicted serial killer who targeted Indigenous women. APTN's Sav Jonesa reports.
The remains of Marcedes Myran have been officially identified after being found in late February in the Prairie Green landfill north of Winnipeg. Myran and Morgan Harris, whose remains were identified in early March, can now be properly put to rest by loved ones almost 3 years since they disappeared.
Marcedes Myran and Morgan Harris are coming home. This is what we set out to do. I don't know if many of us knew the odds of success. I certainly was always trying to keep a realistic perspective, but it turns out bringing them home was within our grasp.
Myran, 26, and Harris, 39, were two of four confirmed victims of a convicted Winnipeg serial killer. Myran and Harris were both members of Long Plain First Nation. Their murders took place between March and May 2022. The remains of another victim, Rebecca Comtois, were found in June 2022 in the Brady Road landfill south of Winnipeg. The remains of a fourth, yet-to-be-identified victim, named by the Indigenous community as Mashkade Bijiki Ikwe, or Buffalo Woman, have still not been found. It took roughly 2 years for the landfill search to begin after Winnipeg Police Services said they believed Harris and Myran's remains were at the site in December 2022. However, the Winnipeg Police Services refused to enact a search, and the previous provincial government campaigned against the effort, both citing health concerns related to asbestos. Throughout that time, the women's families and their community endlessly advocated for the search.
Until we get her home, we'll be fighting to bring her home. Like I said, even a piece of her would be good. We'll have a piece of her at home at least.
We're not asking, we are telling you that this needs to be done. You will search the landfill, and if you will not, you will hand me the shovel and you will hand me the hazmat suits myself, and our community will go in there and retrieve our woman.
It took about 3 months for the two women to be found from the time the physical search began in December 2024. Morgan Harris's daughter Elle says the pain of waiting and advocating was unnecessary for the families. She took to Facebook to share her thoughts on Myran being found. There was absolutely no need for all this trauma that was induced, for all the exhaustion, for all the constant fighting and pleading to bring my mother and Marcedes home. We did not have to endure all this pain if they just listened to us in the first place instead of tearing us down every step and every second of the way. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says the search will continue and says remains and other things that are significant are continuing to be found. Kinew hopes the findings bring unity to a province somewhat divided on the search.
And I hope now, regardless of how you felt over the course of this thing, I hope we can all just agree it's good that we're able to provide closure to these families so that they can move forward in a good way. And now the rest of the province, neighbors included, ought to be able to move forward together.
Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A mother from Norway House Cree Nation in Manitoba was left traumatized after staff at the Thompson General Hospital allegedly told her that her baby was not breathing, which turned out to be untrue. Now her family and advocates are calling for accountability from the hospital and an end to First Nation-specific racial discrimination in the healthcare system. APTN Sarah Bettens has more.
It was supposed to be a routine checkup, but it turned into a nightmare for 18-year-old mother-to-be, Caitlin Albert, who says she was incorrectly told her baby had stopped breathing.
No mother should ever be made to feel like a burden or abused just for asking for help. No family should have to grieve for a child who is still alive because of racism and neglect. No Indigenous woman should have to fight to be treated with respect in a hospital.
On February 4th, Albert and her partner, Ethan Coates, went to the Thompson General Hospital for an appointment. However, during the visit, the family alleges the physician and ultrasound technician verbally abused the couple, acted with physical aggression, and would not let Ethan in the room. After returning home, Albert received a call from the hospital and was allegedly told their baby wasn't breathing.
When I got a call from my daughter, she was heartbroken and in shock. She told me, "Mom, they said my baby isn't breathing." I cannot describe the pain I felt.
After returning to the hospital, the couple learned the baby was alive, but the family says the error caused irreversible harm. Following the incident, the family connected with Dr. Barry Lavalley, the CEO of Kiiwetinoong Inanu Minoyawan, a health organization advocating for Northern First Nations. On Friday, the organization held a press conference in Winnipeg to call for accountability and sound the alarm on racial discrimination.
This is not just, I need an apology letter. This requires our community to invest a lot of time and think about the future of that baby, because we need leaders.
Norway House Cree Nation councillor Dion Clark called on the province's health minister and the Northern Health Region to take action and investigate the incident.
We need to see an end to this type of racism that happens in our hospitals, our healthcare systems. We need to see change in these systems. But too many times our people have been traumatized. They're afraid to enter these facilities because they're scared to be mistreated.
To end First Nation-specific discrimination in healthcare, Lavalley says First Nation people must lead and deliver that care in northern communities.
Give us the resources and money and we'll take over. Because we're not going to waste the last 30 years around cultural competency, cultural safety, all those kinds of things. It doesn't work. This is structural violence against First Nations people.
APTN reached out to the Northern Health Region and Manitoba's health minister for comment. A spokesperson from the Northern Health Region said they're unable to discuss specific patient situations due to the Personal Health Information Act. In a statement sent to APTN, Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguara said they, quote, take this issue very seriously, unquote, and that they've asked Northern Health Region to reach out through patient experience to learn from the incident and prevent it from happening again. Now a mother to a healthy baby, Albert hopes sharing her story will drive change.
This isn't just about me. It's about every Indigenous mother who has been ignored, disrespected, or treated unfairly. This has to stop. We deserve care. We deserve to be safe. We deserve respect. I'm speaking out because no one should ever have to go through this again.
Sierra Buttons, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba RCMP are asking for the public's help in locating 3 men who were involved in a recent home invasion in northern Manitoba. RCMP is looking for 23-year-old Skylar Cook and 33-year-old Dylan Keeper, both from Lake St. Martin. Police are also looking for 26-year-old Kendall McKay from Winnipeg. Last Thursday at around 4 a.m., Gypsumville RCMP responded to a call of a home invasion in Lake St. Martin First Nation. When officers arrived, the residents reported 3 males entered the home with firearms, demanding wallets and anything else of value. One of the men discharged a firearm, killing a family dog that was inside the home. The suspects then fled with an undisclosed amount of items. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. We have an update on a number of police conduct investigations. Those stories when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. An Algonquin nation has won another victory in its fight against a proposed nuclear waste disposal site northwest of Ottawa. Last Friday, a federal court judge ruled the government needs to reconsider a species at risk permit granted to Canadian nuclear laboratories as part of building the waste disposal site. CNL is located at Chalk River, located about 180 kilometers from Ottawa. The court challenge was brought forward by the Kibeowek First Nation, which says the proposed site is too close to the Ottawa River and doesn't take into account risks to various wildlife such as bears, bats, and turtles. Earlier this year, the First Nation won another victory when a federal court ruled the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission did not fulfill its duty to consult obligations with local First Nations before approving the nuclear disposal site last year. Despite the ongoing trade war between the United States and Canada, the Alaska State Legislature is working to strengthen its relationship with what lawmakers say is its only neighbor. A joint resolution recognizing and honoring Alaska's relationship with Canada was passed at the committee level on Friday. The resolution has support from both Republicans and Democrats. It notes Alaska and Canada's interconnected economies, shared border, and long-standing trade relationship, among other things. It also states more than 20,000 jobs in Alaska are dependent on trade and investment in Canada. The resolution opposes restrictive trade measures and calls for both countries to work together. Yukon Premier Ranj Pillay testified at the committee hearing on Friday.
As it says in this joint resolution, the alliance between Alaska and Canada is about many more years of cooperation, friendship, trade, tourism, cultural exchange, and goodwill. So I urge the Alaskan legislature to send a strong message to Washington by passing the joint resolution and standing up for the Alaskan jobs, Alaskan workers, and Alaskan businesses that depend on trade with Canada.
The resolution requires a second reading and debate. While resolutions express the opinion of the legislature, they do not have the force of law. After almost 2 years of waiting, the family of a Prince Albert man who died following an arrest has finally received the results of a Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team or CERT investigation. It found no grounds that any officer committed an offense during the arrest. On April 1st in 2023, Prince Albert police arrested 40-year-old Bowden Umperville after a report of a stolen vehicle. Video footage shows officers using pepper spray, batons, knees, and deploying a stun gun to remove him from the vehicle. Umperville was hospitalized in Saskatoon and remained on life support until his family took him off it. He passed away on April 26th of 2023. The investigation found his death was caused by cardiac arrest, positional asphyxia, and cocaine intoxication. CERT concluded no officers committed a criminal offense and no charges will be laid. Umperville's family calls the investigation a systemic issue and is now considering legal action. Last week, the Edmonton Police Service announced that there would be no charges in the death of 13-year-old Eric Omisu. The youth was fatally stabbed at an Edmonton transit station on February 5th. In a release, Edmonton police state Omisu was part of a group of 4 youths and an 18-year-old. They had an altercation with a man and woman in their 30s. Omisu was stabbed during the altercation. Edmonton police say there would be no charges as the man and woman were acting in self-defense. The other 3 youth and the 18-year-old face several charges, including multiple accounts of assault and possession of a weapon dangerous to the public. Omisu's family said they will not stop fighting for justice for Eric and are hoping anyone who knows more about the incident to come forward. Last week, a Court of King's Bench judge in Edmonton denied Pacey Dumas a judicial review over the decision not to file charges against Edmonton police officer Constable Ben Todd, who kicked Dumas in the head in 2020, nearly killing him. The then 18-year-old Dumas needed emergency surgery to remove a part of his skull to relieve pressure in his brain, and he then had to put a metal implant inserted. There were never any charges against Dumas. Justice Michael Krause said that Dumas failed to prove the Crown abused the process by not prosecuting the officer. The family's lawyer told APTN News that Dumas and his family are distraught, and she is looking at appealing the decision on their behalf.
It's been one blow after another of disappointment. If you can imagine what all of these decisions by the Crown has said is that your life doesn't matter. That's the message. It does matter, and what was done here was wrong, and it was criminal, and at the very least it ought to be in the courts for a court to hear all of the evidence presented and decide if there can be a conviction at the end of the day.
A deadly shooting in the Northwest Territories has claimed the life of one person and has injured 2 others. RCMP was called to a residence in the Decho community of Fort Providence on March 15th at around 12:40 a.m. local time. One person was reported dead at the scene while 2 others were taken to the local health center. No arrests have been made at this time, with the RCMP determining that the shootings is linked to the illicit drug trade in the community. RCMP also believe that the suspect has fled the community and may have left the territory. The Northwest Territories RCMP's Major Crimes Unit has been deployed and will investigate alongside the Office of the Chief Coroner. Any tips are to be directed to the Fort Providence RCMP by phone at 867-699-1111 or online through Crime Stoppers. A Mohawk woman is also celebrating her Irish heritage this week. That story when we come back. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. All of us at APTN National News and APTN Investigates would like to say thank you to all of our viewers and supporters over the years and into the future. Most of us gathered together last week at our HQ in downtown Winnipeg and joined for this lovely group photo. Send us your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east, Fredericton 1, Charlottetown 3 in rain. Anujiwak -15, Nain -10 in sun. Saguenay 1, Quebec City 2 in rain. Sunny in Toronto at 13, Peterborough 10. Sioux Lookout 3, Timmins 2. Puckatawagan -12, Thompson -6. 1 in Gimli, Princess Harbour -4. Regina -3, Yorkton -3. Partly cloudy in La Ronge at -7, Stony Rapids -12. High level -3, Peace River sun and +1. 2 in Lethbridge, Medicine Hat 1. Partly cloudy in Kamloops at 10, Penticton 9. Smithers 3, Prince George 3. Watson Lake -1, Mayo -7. Fort Simpson -13, Watee -16. Tuktoyaktuk -27, Pawatuck -26. Baker Lake -22, Chesterfield -16. And Resolute -17, Iqaluit -18. With St. Patrick's Day here, APTN's Kim Sullivan introduces us to a young Mohawk woman who celebrates not only her Indigenous heritage, but also her Irish roots.
One redhead, two cultures. It is therefore no surprise to meet individuals like Cahentis Alfred on the Ganawage Reserve.
Of course we have Irish roots. I mean, I got red hair, I'm pale, like it came out of nowhere because both my parents, brown hair. My brothers got brown hair. And then when I was born, it was like, oh, there's a little redhead in there.
The Irish and the Indigenous communities have a shared history of resilience and cultural exchange. In the 19th century, many Irish immigrants to Montreal formed strong and supportive ties with Indigenous groups, particularly the Mohawk residents of the neighboring Ganawage territory.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Therefore, Cahentis is proud not only of her Indigenous roots, but also of her Irish heritage.
We were talking to my grandfather, and actually he was telling me, was his grandmother or great-grandmother looked like same features as me, same hair.
Cahentis later discovered that she had Irish roots, more specifically from County Cork.
I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I've always been into the Irish dancing, the red hair.
Irish dancing is something Cahentis did for many years until an injury made her stop.
I miss dancing because I did all the Irish dancing, so I was like, I need dance back in my life. It was actually gifted to me. I started jingle first. I borrowed a dress from someone because I was like, I really want to dance. Like, I feel like I need to dance, so I borrowed a dress, did my first powwow, fell in love.
Then came the smoke dance, a dance she proudly showcased as participant at this year's first edition of the Miss Indigenous Canada pageant.
It was amazing. Like, everyone was like, that I talked to, was so excited that like someone from Ganawage was going to the very first one. And then I was like, that feels like it's a lot of weight on my shoulders to represent this whole community.
The experience gave her confidence, and Cahentis decided to celebrate her Irish heritage in a similar way. She presented herself at the selection night for the Queen and Court of the St. Patrick's Day Parade, organized by the Chateauguay Valley Irish Heritage Association.
Because I had the more confidence from doing the Miss Indigenous pageant, and I gotta celebrate all my heritages. Like, can't just ignore the fact that there's like, I have Irish heritage, clearly.
This time, her confidence led her to be crowned a member of the court, Princess of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Chateauguay.
This is my crown.
You are princess.
Our Grand Chief is actually going to be judging the parade. Yeah, because they said, yeah, they want to support our contestant and our girl. And I was like, it just made me feel so happy and so good.
What are her duties as member of the court?
So we're there to support our queen, whose name is Olivia, and she's amazing. We have a few events upcoming. We're going to be in the parade. Obviously, that's the most important part. So we get to wave a little bit on the parade and bring a bit of more awareness to the Irish Heritage Association and the Irish community in the Chateauguay, and just say, hey, everyone can join the association. It's not open to just Irish people.
Irish or Indigenous and all in between, wanting to celebrate the 20th edition of the Chateauguay Valley Irish Heritage Parade. Mark your calendars.
So the parade's on March 23rd. It's open to everyone. It's in Chateauguay. Just come out, have a good time. It's always super fun.
Kim Sullivan, APTN News, Ganawage.
Such a cool and fitting story. Thank you, Kim. And that's your evening newscast for this Monday. We're back again tomorrow for your daytime newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching. We'll see you again. Exe.